Prior to participating in any program, workout, training, activity, exercise, or use of any product or treatment discussed in this video, you should consult your physician or other healthcare professional to determine if it's right for your needs. Please make sure you are cleared for exercise. Do not start this fitness program if your physician or healthcare provider advises against it. If you are experiencing faintness, dizziness, pain, or shortness of breath at any time while exercising, you should stop immediately. Exercise is not without its risks, and this or any other exercise program may result in injury. To reduce the risk of injury before beginning this or any exercise program, please consult a healthcare provider for appropriate exercise prescription and safety precautions. The exercise instruction and advice presented are in no way intended as a substitute for medical consultation. korellafit offers the exercises in this video designed for educational purposes only. You should not rely on this information as a substitute for, nor does it replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. korellafit strongly advises that you consult your doctor or healthcare provider before you alter your diet or fitness activities. If you have any concerns or questions about your health, you should always consult a physician or other healthcare professional. The exercises on this video are not to be interpreted as a recommendation for a specific treatment plan, product, or course of action. We disclaim any liability from and in connection with the program. You understand that the exercises and programs discussed in this video can be strenuous and should be scaled or done in moderation. There is an inherent risk in any exercise that, while providing some health benefits, it can also cause unknown health issues. Application or reliance on the techniques, advice, ideas, and suggestions of any person associated with korellafit and this video are at your sole discretion and risk. Developments in medical research may impact the health, fitness, and nutritional advice that appears here. No assurance can be given that the advice contained in this site will always include the most recent findings or developments with respect to the particular material. If you're in the United States and think you are having a medical or health emergency, call your healthcare professional or 911 immediately.
Hi everyone, I'm Karina from korellafit. Thanks for buying our bands. So today I'm just going to run you through what you got inside your box and basically how to use it with the correct technique. So rather than it being an exercise video, we're actually going to go through the correct technique for each individual exercise and specific cues to watch out for, and so you know what muscles you're actually working and what you're supposed to feel in your body when you do it. So inside your box you've got 3 bands. We've got 3 different colors and each color represents a different resistance. So this nice purple color is your light band, gray is the medium, and the lilac is the heavy. So you'll notice they're all the same size, and we did a lot of testing to work out that this was the best option so that you could capitalize on all the different exercises that you can do with these types of bands. So you can even include some cardio exercises in here as well using the light band, and if you're adventurous, maybe the medium or heavy, but we'll go through that later on. So yeah, now for the exercises, make sure you have your bands ready and we'll go through them one by one. So the correct setup for a clam, as far as alignment's concerned, before you even think about the band, is to make sure that you want to imagine there's a wall behind you. Your bottom is up against the wall, your shoulders and your head are up against the wall, and so are your feet. So your knees will be bent so they're in that exact same line. Make sure your core's on. You're always looking for length through the waistline, so you don't want to be collapsing in here. So when you lengthen out through your waist, there should be a little space underneath your the side of your waist that's on the mat for a little row of ants. So nothing too big, we're not overarching or anything, we just want nice length through the torso. That's also going to help you to keep your pelvis stable. So we don't, so I'm just going to take the band off first. So when you do a normal clam without the resistance bands, you would raise your leg, okay, keeping the length through the waist, core on. What happens when you raise your leg is there's a tendency for your hips to rotate backwards. Now, that's just the movement, your body, pelvis, unless you know where you are in space and unless you've being cued properly, and maybe you've done Pilates before, or certain things at the gym where you're aware of this already. But for most of you, you'll just do the movement and you'll be rolling back and you won't even realize. So you need to place your hand on your glute med. You'll be working through your glute med, glute min, which are your smaller butt muscles, basically, just here. So there's two reasons for this. One is so that you can feel the muscle and tell your body what muscle you're actually working. And two is so that you can feel if your hip is rolling backwards. So you're going to use that hand to help you keep the hips still when you raise your leg. And then you want to lower your leg down again. So it's just literally like this. It's quite a small muscle group. Now, the purpose of the band in this exercise, there's a lot of people out there that will feel that exercise in here, or they may not feel their glute at all. There's a few reasons for that. Some people's glutes don't fire at all. Some people have overactive adductors, and there will be a variety of you out there because this is all on a video. So I want to cater to all of you and just explain that to you. So if when you're raising your leg, you can feel it in here instead of here, you'll know that this muscle is just probably more overactive for you. These bands are going to help you isolate the glute even more, and of course make the glute work harder if it was already working properly in the first place. So we just place the band over your legs, just above your knees, lay back up against that imaginary wall behind you, lengthen out through your waist, keep your feet stacked one on top of the other, and then lift your knee into the band, and you will feel it all down here. Then slowly lower back down again, and then lift, hold, and lower again. I'm using the medium. You'll get a little bit more range out of the light one, and if you're finding that it's just too hard and it's barely moving, just work with the light one as well first, and then work your way up. Okay, so you can just work through maybe 30 of these on each side, and you will feel a pretty strong burn afterwards. So now we're going to go through a straight leg raise version of the clamp. So it's working down the outside of your legs and your glutes. Most part, your glutes will be working through pretty much all of these exercises. So this time it's just going to go around your ankles. I've got the lightweight band on now just because I like to have a bit more stretchiness into the exercise so that I can get my leg a little bit higher. So first thing you want to do is just lay back down onto the ground. I've always got my hand under my head here because I find it quite comfortable, but for those of you that have neck problems or feel uncomfortable, you can place a pillow under your head, or you know, something of the like, or you can even just lay down like this. So I want your neck to be comfortable. I don't want you to feel like you're all, you know, creaked up in through the shoulders. Okay, so be very mindful of that while you're doing this, because when your glutes start burning, a lot of other funky things starts to happen in your body. So be aware of that in the process. And just again, we're just thinking about length. So you just want to lay like this. Think of the core being on. So by that I mean pull your tight jeans on. So pull your belly button back to your spine. Think about that waistline lengthening through the top and again through the bottom for that little row of ants. Thinking of somebody pulling that top leg away from you will help you get the length. So throughout the exercise, you want to keep thinking of length through the leg. You'll place your hand here for balance, and then you're going to lift your leg up, hold, and lower. Lift, hold, and lower. So each time, if you just hold for sort of a long second or maybe 2 seconds, depending how fast you count, you'll be able to get through about 30 of these as well. So now we're going to go through hip extension exercise. So your hip extensors are your hamstring and glute max, which is the big bubble part of your bottom. So you just want to work on pelvic stability here. So a lot of the time when you see people working in this plane of movement, you'll see a lot of movement going on through the torso and through the pelvis. And I'm gonna give you some techniques to think about. So you just want to keep going through your checklist in your mind while you do the repetitions to keep your pelvis nice and still. And that means that then you'll be isolating your glutes and your hamstring. So this time I've used the heavy band. I've just placed it above my knees. You can place it a little bit higher, have a play around with it. It doesn't matter. I think the higher that you go, probably the harder it's going to be. And then you're going to just lay down onto your tummy and place your hands under your head. So think of lengthening out through the torso like we did before. It's always about long length so that you can control everything. I want you to think about pulling your belly button towards your spine as you tilt your pubic bone down towards the mat. So that the purpose of this is to lengthen through your lower back so that we don't end up hinging into here, which could cause quite a little bit of back pain if you're too hinged in through here, if you're lordotic to begin with. So lengthening out and lifting the belly up as much as you can in this position. It can be challenging because gravity is not on your side, but that lengthening will protect your back. Okay, so then we're going to lift, thinking of length like somebody is pulling your leg out of your hip socket. Hold, you'll be squeezing in through here, through the glute and the hamstring, and then lower down. And then you can lift through the other side, hold and lower down. Whole time the tummy's on. So here's how it would look if it was incorrect. So again, tilt the pubic bone down, belly button's lifted off, and then all I can feel now is my glute. If you can't feel it here, you're likely bending through your lower back, not thinking of length as much. So just being mindful of that length. And the hold always helps. Get really close into the burn. So now we're going to go through a different hip extension exercise. It's more challenging because you're up in a quadruped position, or 4-point kneeling, so you're down on your hands and your knees. If you've got wrist problems, you can come down on your elbows. I'll show you both variations. One of the common movement faults in this exercise that I see when it's demonstrated is that pelvic movement again. So it's just movement through the spine. So if your spine's moving and your pelvis moving through this exercise, then your glutes aren't working as hard as they should be. You're also likely dumping into your vertebrae. You can actually cause yourself injury, especially if you have a heavy band on. So play around with it. You might find medium's probably a good place to start. If you feel like starting with the light first, that might be even the safest place to start. Just so that you can feel the movement in your body. Try to set yourself up in front of a mirror so you can see your form, so that you can see what I'm talking about. So the first thing you're going to do is come down onto your hands and knees. And when you place yourself in this position, you want to make sure your knees are underneath your hips, not forward, and your butt back. You also want your hands underneath your shoulders. Another good thing to think about while you're here is that you're pushing the mat away. Push the mat away so that you're nice and strong through the shoulders. And then make sure your shoulders slide away from your ears. You don't want to be wearing them like earrings. So a lot of the time I see a lot of this and we end up with a lot of tension in the neck. So just thinking of these muscles here, engaging under the shoulders and under the armpits. The core is a really crucial thing in this exercise. So you need to be thinking about it like an old-fashioned corset. So all those core muscles, they're all stitching together underneath to pull everything back up towards your spine. Okay, and the idea behind that is to keep that pelvic stability that I was just talking about before. Okay, so thinking of length through the back of the neck, so no wrinkles here. We want nice long necks. You'll be looking straight down at the mat, and you are going to just lift up one leg, heel reaches for the ceiling. Think of that core on, corsets on, everything still, and then we're going to lift into the glute. So a lot of you would have seen this exercise done without the bands, but adding the band for resistance targets the glute max specifically. And you just keep pushing straight up. And again, the slower you go, the more you can focus on that pelvic stability. So if you start rushing through it, it'll probably look something like this. Which is not what we want. If you can manage a stable pelvis, by all means, pulse it, go for it, but you've got to stay still. So it's not a very large movement, it's more a specific movement, and that goes for most things. And as you can hear, my heart rate's gone up anyway, because it's quite a large muscle group. So I also said that I'd run you through a different variation if you have sore wrists, which is so common. there's always a way around that. There's definitely a lot of exercises you can do to strengthen your wrist, but in the meantime, just clasp your hands together and come down onto your elbows and your forearms. But it's the same setup as far as where your legs are to be located and that whole corset through the core. The other thing you need to think about is the shoulders sliding away from the ears, and I like to think about the forearms spreading the mat, so that helps you to keep that width across the front of the shoulders. Again, length through the back of the neck, all the way through so that your head stays in a nice position. It's an extension of the spine, belly button pulling up towards the spine, and then we go again. I like to exhale as I push my leg up. It helps you to keep the pelvis stable. Okay, so now I'm going to take you through the bridge. There's a million different ways you can do the bridge. In the gyms, it's more like a hip thrust. You know, I personally prefer you to pop into a tuck, so I'm going to take you through that because it works really, really deep into the glutes. So there's two different things you can do with it. I'm obviously in my Pilates studio, so I'm going to use the reformer because it gives me a really good height for my legs here on the bar. If I was at home, I'd push a dining chair up against the wall so that the back of the dining chair is against the wall, and I'd place my feet on the seat of the dining chair, which would give you the same height from the ground, and you get more articulation through the spine when you get up the top as well. So anyway, I'll take you through it here, and then I'll give you an example of what it looks like with the chair or a box. We've got a box here in the studio. It's a similar thing, so I can show you. So you just place the band again just above your knees, around your thighs, not too high. Don't want them too high. The lower, more range you get, more targeted. So I'm just going to lay down, place my feet hip width apart on the bar, and I'm just going to peel my spine up. Really, if you're already here, you're on a mat on the floor, it'd really feel good for you to just do a few of these to warm up. You'll find there's a lot of clunking that goes on through your spine as you go up and down, and it's really nice to do a few repetitions. Just to get the spine moving. You can also do this exercise with tension through the band, placing the focus again on the glutes. Okay, so just rolling through the pelvis, healing up. So you want to focus on tucking that tailbone between your legs back towards your nose as you come up. When you get into the position, you want to pop yourself in a nice lengthened position. So you want to feel those knees reaching for the opposite corner of the room. What it doesn't want to look like is that you're so far up. I see a lot of people sort of coming up on their shoulders like this. So like in yoga, there's shoulder bridges like this. But now my weight's back on my neck and I can barely breathe. My boobs are in my face. So you want to keep the shoulders nice and wide. You want to feel the shoulder blades still connected in the mat, and you want to feel that your ribs and hips are in line here. And when your ribs and hips are in line, then your tummy's on. Also feeling your glutes. So this is the correct alignment. You want to maintain this while you're doing the exercises, and just be thinking about it the whole time. So the first exercise is to just push out into the band, resisting the band as it comes back in, pressing out, and back in, and staying in that position. What you don't want to do is lower and wobble all around the place, okay? So you want to maintain this position, and again, that helps to isolate the glutes. So that's the first exercise. The second exercise, you can do about 20 of those. The second exercise, you want tension in the band. You're going to lower your bottom down a couple of centimeters or inches, 1 inch. Then you're going to think about tucking that tailbone back up and squeezing right here where your bottom meets your legs, and lower. Squeeze and lower. Squeeze. Bring the focus into the squeeze. So don't want to rush that. You won't get nearly as much out of it. Again, slow as you go. The more emphasis you can get into those muscles, the more control you can have on your form, and the more burn you create. Make sure you keep the tension through the band as you go. So I like to do 20 of each, rolling down in between, just giving your spine that nice stretch as you come down. rolling back up. Again, thinking of length, and go back through another 20 of these. Out, resist in, out, 20, and then keeping the tension, lower, squeeze, and another 20. So, see how you go. You might be on fire after one set of 20 of each, or you might be up for the challenge of doing 3 sets of 20 of each. Make sure you roll down in between each repetition, as it just gives your lower back a break. If you start to feel it in your lower back, you've really got to focus on tucking your tailbone between your legs. You don't want to feel it in your lower back, you want to feel your glutes. You want to feel right where the glutes, where your bottom meets your hamstrings. So really, I like to think about like a dog tail on my tailbone, trying to tuck it between my legs and tickle my nose with it. So the whole time you want to keep thinking of that happening. If you don't, you will certainly fall back out into an anterior tilt, which will put too much load in your back. I'll show you what that looks like just quickly. Again, if you can set yourself up in a mirror, you'll be able to see it. If not, I just want you to start feeling how it feels in your body. So an anterior tilt would start to look like this. So your back has an arch here. And if you're not in, then you see my ribs are popping out. And yeah, can I feel my butt? Yeah, I can a little bit, nowhere near the same. Am I going to start to feel here to hold me up? Absolutely. And that's not what we want. So you want to think about curling that tailbone under, bringing your pubic bone back towards your nose, and staying like that. And then when you curl and lift, that's the way you're curling and lifting. The squeeze is here. It doesn't look like this. It's doing absolutely nothing. And then we're rolling down. You might like to stretch those hamstrings at the end. When you're doing a bridge, your hamstrings will be working as well. The more tuck under through the pelvis that you can do, the more you'll feel your glutes. But for the most part, people's hamstrings might cramp. I would say probably 90% of people, before they've ever done a bridge before, their hamstrings cramp after the first time they go up. So you may even need to stretch before you even get through any repetitions, and that's completely fine. Don't try and push through, stretch it out, because then you'll be able to finish it. So just use the band, place it on the bottom of your foot, reach the leg up to the ceiling if you can. If your knee's bent, that's fine too. Whatever range you've got is fine. Just make sure as you're exhaling into the stretch. So each time you exhale, you're telling your hamstring to relax further and further and further until you can get to straight. If you can get to straight, you then want to focus on sending the heel towards the ceiling and the toe back towards your face. And that will stretch up, right up the leg. A lot of people think that yanking their leg like this is a good idea, and you can see my bottom is lifting off the ground. You're not benefiting from this at all. You need to keep the tailbone heavy in the mat, and you don't want to squash your spine into the mat here either. You just want to keep a nice neutral spine and just keeping the pelvis nice and heavy down through the tailbone. And then you reach the toe back towards you, and you can absolutely get enough stretch out of that. If you're just feeling it in your calf, the other thing you can do is slightly bend the knee and then pull the leg towards you like that, and you will feel your hamstring. But again, as you're doing it, try not to let the bottom lift off. Keep the bottom where it is and pull the knee towards you, and that will isolate the hamstring over the calf. That generally only happens for people with super tight calves. So that should help you get into the hamstrings, stretch both of them out, and then go back in and do the bridges. So now the squat. Lightweight, more reps, or if you want to add a jump or a step jump, you'll find you'll get longer stride with the lighter weight, depending on what you're chasing, more resistance, more reps, shorter reps, that sort of thing. So for right now, the technique of a squat is for your toes to be just a little wider than your feet, so just on a slight turnout. And I've chosen the medium band, and I like to just hold my hands out in front of me. It helps me keep my head, neck and shoulders in the right frame. Okay, so again, they just tend to tense up when we're doing other things, especially things that are exerting energy. So just be mindful of that. Thinking of the core on, and we're going to press out into the band, and the knees are heading out over the toes as you come down into the squat. Come as low as you can, keep pressing out through the band, and then push up from the heels all the way up to standing and squeeze your butt. Think of your core being on. I want you to also think about, as you're coming down, spreading the floor apart with your feet, as well as pushing your knees out. So your feet are pushing hard into the ground and out, and this will all be engaging in through the glutes. So coming down, knees come out nice and wide, pushing out. Feel the burn as you push the band out, come up and squeeze your bottom, keep your tummy on. Okay, so nice and low, as long as you can go. But if poor technique is this band will tend to pull you in if you don't have the strength. So that's how you have a clear indication of if you need to use the lightweight. If you can't push the band past your legs, it's too heavy for you. So they are not supposed to look like this. They're supposed to look like this. Out and squeeze. Very, very important. You don't want to put extra load on the knees. We want to just be feeling through the glutes. So now I'm just going to take you through the crab walk, okay? Again, I see this over and over again, performed on Instagram so incorrectly that it's not even actually doing you any good. So I just really want to drive a point home of position, position, position for this exercise, and you need to keep thinking about it in your head as you're doing it. So if you get your setup right and then you go off, the harder it gets and the more reps you do, the more your form starts to drop off. So it's really important, like I always do with every rep, and I go through my checklist. How's my shoulders? How's my core? Is my core on? How am I in the right position with my legs? You know, check, 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 check. Where are my knees? Are they pushing out? Are they pushing out? Are they pushing out? That's what you need to keep asking yourself. So for this exercise, I've chosen the medium. Again, play through it, see how you go. I think the medium's a good amount of resistance, but like I say, in the squats, like I explained that to you before, if it's pulling your knees in, it's too heavy. So that's a clear indication for you. Go back to the light one and start from there. You will find if it feels too light and you're not feeling enough resistance and you really want to smash yourself, and some of you out there that like to do that, concentrate on your form. Concentrate on your form. Can I get lower? Can I get deeper? Can I get my knees out further? And is my core on? And do more repetitions. You will feel the burn, I guarantee it. So that's just my hot tip for that one. So we're just going to start here. I'm going to start over here because I've got a small screen length to show you this. So I'm just going to come down, and in this one, not like a squat, you want to stick your bottom back, okay? Core's on, but you want to aim for your knees being directly above your ankles, so you've got vertical shins. You don't want to come forward over here so you can't see your toes from your knees. If you do that, you're just loading into your knees, not working your glutes at all. Okay, so make sure the band's just above the knees. We're going to stand up tall, and again, I just put my hands out here. You can place your hands on your hips, whatever works for you, as long as it's not pulling your shoulders out of your frame. You want to think of a long spine right through the crown of the head, core on, bow forward and stick your bottom back. Pretend there's a chair behind you that you can't see, that if you don't lean back, you're going to fall when you go to sit. The whole time you should be thinking about that. Weight through the heels, knees are pushing out into the band, and you step, and it's a small step in, so the tension stays in the whole time. And we step, step. Keep pushing the knees out, keep leaning back for that imaginary chair. Every single time, you're going to feel this through the booty. Pushing out through the knees, pushing out through the knees. Now, what you don't want it to look like is this. Not working my booty at all. You also don't want it to look like this. All through my knees and my calves. That's all I feel. The other thing I want you to be really mindful of when you're popping yourself in position for this exercise is the position of your pelvis again. All plays such a crucial role. So when you come down into the squat, you want to think about a neutral pelvis. So when you sit back in that imaginary chair, your bottom is leaning back like this. A lot of you will naturally sit your pelvis like this. And again, if you're like this, it's back in your knees and your glutes aren't working. So you need to make sure that your pelvis is in the right position. Be firing those glutes just the way we need them to be, okay? So if you've gone through all those exercises as part of your daily routine, you're going to need to stretch. It's really important because you're working specifically glutes and hamstrings. They're going to get really tight and really sore. And when you get tight glutes, you can get a sore back. So I just couldn't let this instructional video go past a few stretches. So it's very important to stretch them. So what you're going to do is just, it'll be different for everybody's mobility. Earlier I showed you how to hold the band and stretch out the back of your leg. So definitely need to do that throughout, either throughout the bridging or also at the end, okay? And then for the glute stretch, you just want to lay on your back, find a nice neutral position, cross one ankle over one knee, and if you can, you're going to place your hands between your leg to hold underneath the other leg. I like to use my elbow to push the other leg away and then pull the legs towards my chest. If you can push this leg away with this elbow, you'll feel more stretch to the outside of this glute. If you can't, that's fine. For a lot of people, even just getting your hands around your legs is really challenging. I see a lot of this sort of thing and heads hurting and what have you. So if that's the case, use the dining chair like we did for bridging. To place your heel up on the dining chair, and even place your toe if you need more stretch, so that it's bringing this foot closer to you, and then you can push this knee away. So it will help you get into that a little bit easier without having to lift your body or reach your legs if you have limited mobility through the hips. So you can do that through both sides, lifting up and stretching. It's good to try and hold a stretch for at least 45 seconds to a minute. That's where you really get the full benefits, and you'll notice the muscles just releasing. Another version that I find easy, if you can't do any of those stretches, I often get everybody to release their glutes. If you have a tennis ball at home, use a tennis ball. It works just as well, but I like a lacrosse ball, so if you have one of these, go ahead and use this, or you can also get a nice big sparky ball. Any of them will do. I'm going to go with this one. So you just lay back into that same position, you place your leg up over here, and then you're just going to place the ball. First we're going to release in near the piriformis. So actually at the back, at the base of your spine is your sacrum, okay? Sort of like a little wedge here. And your piriformis comes in next to there. So you're going to place the ball right in next to the bone and then lay on it with that leg up. You're going to roll, you can move the ball as you need to until you find where that spot is. And just tilt your body weight onto the ball and hold it there until you feel like it's releasing. There are a number of tight spots throughout the glutes, especially if you're doing these exercises regularly. You'll start to notice that they really need to be released. So you can really come up and you can come out to the outside of your leg as well into glute med, and you'll feel the pain. But afterwards, you'll feel free. So another glute stretch, if you've got the flexibility, is like the pigeon pose from yoga. So if you've got bursitis or any hip problems, it's best not to bring your leg into too much of a stretch, so it's a little bit safer to come down and stretch with your leg, knee facing straight ahead, and just trying to lay back that way. And if you can keep thinking of your hip reaching back and your body coming forward, you should get a really nice stretch through the back of that glute. For those of you that want more stretch, you can bring the leg so it's a crossways and then just rolling over to stretch that way. And just breathing into it. You can do a hip flexor stretch by coming into a lunge onto your knees, bring your foot forward and just leaning forward. Now, really important to know when you're doing a hip flexor stretch, you should feel it through here. It's very different for everybody, and if you tend to get sore back, you know, if you have tight hip flexors, if you go into a hip flexor stretch, you'll feel it pulling in your back. So very important to think of that tailbone curling under, so you want that pelvis to be going like this and then just reaching tall, and you should feel the stretch here without it pulling in your back. If you go too far forward or lean back, you're going to end up ditching into that back again, so be very careful not to do that. Okay, and yeah, that should do it.
So guys, that's it. Thanks heaps for buying our bands. We can't wait to hear how much you love them and the results that you're getting. Feel free to head on over to our Instagram page, Facebook page, like us, follow us, keep up to date on new tips, new exercises, exercise combinations and how to incorporate them. We'll have a lot coming up, and if you love your KorellafIT fabric resistance bands as much as we do, please jump on Amazon and leave us a review. We'd absolutely love to hear from you, and so would everyone else that are looking to purchase some bands. However, if you have concerns or any issues at all, we ask if you could kindly reach out to our email before leaving the issue on the review page to give us a chance to help you and to rectify any issues that may arise. However, we're pretty confident there won't be any. korellafit@gmail.com. We want you to be happy and hope that you enjoy your new body after training with your new KorellafIT fabric resistance bands. Thanks, guys.